Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again, Hudson County View, live and uncut. I'm your host, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the women's pet and the men's regret, where what you see is what you get and what you don't is better yet. John R. Highness, great to be back. So it's been another busy week in Hudson County as always, so let's talk a little bit about Hoboken. As you guys know, I have been very preoccupied this week at U.S. District Federal Court in Newark for the federal vote-by-mail trial of Frank Raia, a developer, a former mayoral candidate, and also a council-at-large candidate in 2013. This trial centers around whether or not he participated in the VBM fraud in the 2013 contest where he was running for council-at-large at the time, 4th Ward Councilman Tim Acapinti's mayoral slate, which included 3 other at-large candidates. So that has been a lot of fun, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. We'll get into that a little later. On top of that, of course, Jersey City always hustling and bustling, not to be outdone. The city of Jersey City, some officials there have made some allegations that former Governor Jim McGreevey, when he was the executive director of the Employment and Training Program, misappropriated quote-unquote millions of dollars. So we'll take a look at both sides there. And we also have Ward E Councilman James Solomon live in the studio. He'll be with us in just a few moments. And we're also going to mention that the North Bergen Liberty Generating Project, that $1.8 billion power plant that could potentially be heading up north, is going to, well, depending who you ask, it's hit a snag. But the developer says that this is just a standard procedure. They're just doing what they got to do with the application. The State Department of Environmental Protection seems to see it another way. So that's what we have for you today, maybe a little more. We're going to try to give you some updates from the courtroom if possible. My colleague Mark Bucinich will not be joining us today because he is in Newark, you know, right there on the scene, giving you the fresh perspective of what's going on. I mean, there is some chatter that Frank Raia will be taking the stand. If I hear more, you will certainly be the first to know. But for now, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back with Councilman Solomon. Just hang with us.
It takes more than a state-of-the-art medical facility to make a great hospital. It takes a team of dedicated medical professionals. That's the Jersey City Medical Center, Hudson County's #1 hospital. Medical teams consisting of New Jersey's top doctors, Magnet Award-winning nurses, and accomplished hospital associates, all committed to your good health. That's what you have at the Jersey City Medical Center. Make Hudson County's #1 hospital your first choice. Visit us on the web at barnabashealth.org. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again, as promised, Hudson County View, live and uncut. John R. Highness, and today we're joined with Jersey City Ward E Councilman James Solomon. James, good to have you again.
Good to have you, John.
Great to have you in studio.
Great to be here.
So, James, obviously there's no shortage of topics. Just in the past 2 weeks, I mean, we've been talking almost daily. There's just so much happening with the city council and the municipal government. So let's start with school funding. I know you and my colleague Mark have talked about this a lot, but you and I haven't spoken about it as much. So, obviously there was a big budget hole at the tune of $120 million, and there were some creative ideas, whether you consider that a good thing or a bad thing, depends who you ask. And they seem to say that everything's been taken care of, but last that we heard of it from the council's end, it didn't seem that that was necessarily true. So how do you see it today, as we're approaching the end of June, as the budget cycle is about to turn over here?
Yeah, so school funding, I think, is the critical issue for Jersey City. Right? This is not today. This is this year, it's next year, and it's the next couple decades. And we have the state cuts in place, but we also have a persistent underfunding gap, right? According to the state formula, we're $100 million underfunded, and that doesn't have anything to do with the additional $170 million the state cut. So I think we have to be extraordinarily serious about school funding. And when it comes to the city council's role, we've been taking abatement revenue for decades, right? You go back, every mayor, right? And Mayor Schundler, Mayor Cunningham, Mayor Healy, right? Mayor Fulop, all have taken the abatement revenue. And I think it's time that the city council start to give some of that abatement revenue to the schools because it makes an impact, right? They can use that to increase after-school services, to increase the amount of enrichment, to pay our teachers effectively. So, the school board says they've taken care of the budget. I'm looking for more detail in that, but the city council still has a role and an obligation to start sharing the abatement revenue.
So obviously you guys haven't passed your budget. I don't believe you even had the first reading yet, right? So
yep.
Obviously that should be critical in this process because it will decide how much money you're going to load to the schools, right?
Absolutely, right? And we've never done it before. We've done what are called shared services, helping with trash pickup. But we've never provided money directly to the schools. So we have to see, I'm going to advocate with my colleagues to say, there's no reason we should be taking this abatement money, right? That has created a persistent funding gap for the schools. And it's not just this year, it's next year. And, I don't know what the school's intention are with their headquarters, where they've, for the viewers, they proposed to sell their headquarters or lease it for $6 million. But, that's bad budgeting. You shouldn't sell an asset, something that's extraordinarily valuable, just for a one-time shot of revenue. So we'll see what they plan to do, but we as a city council are saying, hey, we can help you, right? We can potentially avoid, bad long-term choices if, again, they haven't shared details, but if the intention is simply to sell it to fill a budget gap.
Sure. So when do you guys think you'll get to the first reading? Any clue yet?
My guess would be right after July 4th. We've passed our budget in the past, middle of July into the end of July, and I think we'll probably be on that schedule again. So I would expect some amendments for consideration right after the 4th.
So it's slightly early, but I mean, if you had to take a stab at it today, do you have any idea what that figure might look like?
For the schools?
Yeah.
It's a great question. I think we could get up to $5 million this year, and that would just be this year. The idea if we do $5 million this year, that would be $5 million plus more next year.
It would always be $5 million plus X,
theoretically. Yeah, ideally, right? Until the abatements are off the books.
Interesting. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, James, was, of course, the whole thing with this employment and trading. I guess we'll call it a scandal for lack of a better term. I don't know if it's too early to use that, but I think everyone's already said that already. So anyway, just for a quick refresher for anyone that hasn't been following, last week, the city of Jersey City, from the mayor's office, said that Governor McGreevey, as the executive director of that agency, misappropriated upwards of about $5 million. The governor has released audits since then. He said that, this doesn't reflect that. Sudan Thomas, who is the acting executive director, has said, well, the forensic audit's different because there was no oversight from anyone at the agency. And we could go on, but I think that's enough. I mean, what's your take on this?
I mean, it can keep going, right? And that's the problem. I said this right when the board fired Governor McGreevey, and I said, look, we had a situation in 2014 where maybe the mayor hired the governor who wasn't doing a good job for political reasons. Or was it possible in 2018, 2019, he was fired for political reasons, but he was doing a good job? And I think you, me, but more importantly, the public that needs this service is getting, kicked around in a game of political football. And we say if they're getting kicked around, it's soccer. So, I mean, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe, but I think what's clear is that politics has governed JCETP for the last 5+ years, and it's got to change. So they're in the process of hiring a new executive director, and that executive director has to be someone with deep experience in workforce management, in re-entry, in education, somebody who has a resume of doing this work professionally, right? And not somebody who is a political hire, because the people of Jersey City desperately need JCETP to provide a really, really crucial service, right? So, who's right, whose audit is right? Is the new audit right? Is the governor's audit right? I don't know. You don't know. We're not accountants. But what I would hope is that people, make as much information public as soon as possible. Let the public analyze. I have some accountants in Ward E. I'll let them analyze.
Good plan.
And then, most importantly, turn JCETP into an apolitical organization and one that delivers services and is not used to make patronage hires.
So do you know how many names, or if there's a ballpark of how many people have submitted for this yet?
Well, the City Council, not me, Councilman Robinson, Councilwoman Waterman, had requested JCETP come to our caucus meeting and brief us, and they have declined and provided a legal opinion as to why they're not showing up.
That seems to be a consistent theme.
Seems to be a theme, right? And so, I don't have any accurate information. I have rumors, but I don't have any accurate information. But again, I think the way to judge the process is an expert hired? Did they do a national search? Did they find apolitical experts, or is the person they hire, a Jersey City Politico?
All right, and have you seen any of the audits released by the governor? And have you seen the forensic audit?
So I believe the governor shared some of the audits prior to his dismissal with the City Council. I have not seen the forensic audit. I'm not an accountant, right? I would need to be able to give them to an expert would have to review both for me and provide the right questions or ask the right questions and hopefully provide some answers.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
So, on a lighter note, I mean, I see you in the streets of Wardy quite often. There's been a lot of outdoor, festivals and things like that you've been hosting, and I believe will be hosting throughout the summer. So, just if you want to take a minute to tell some of your constituents what's happening on that end.
Sure. I mean, Wardy in the summer is probably the best place in Jersey City. I mean, I might have some disagreements with other council members, but we got the 4th of July coming up on Exchange Place. Have the fireworks and a very headline performer that'll be performing down there. Puerto Rican Day Parade in August. Italian Fest also same weekend in August. It's about I think August 13th through the 17th, 18th. Those are two of my favorite events for downtown. And then we got the weekly farmers market. So actually this Saturday, I'm going to be at Van Voorst and Paulus Hook. Both of those farmers markets are on Saturday. You can come say hi to me, ask questions, and basically complain, do anything you want. So.
All right, that's a pretty bold assessment,
I know,
inviting
right?
complaining, but it's definitely a unique approach. Let's see if it's the right one.
That's right.
So another thing that came up recently at the council, kind of unexpectedly, was this whole Airbnb thing. I know this is something that's been on the books for a few years, and recently it's become something that people have been very vocal about one way or the other. Obviously, you and Councilman Dion appear to be pretty far apart, at least you were at the last caucus. So, could you just tell us a little bit about this saga and what your goal is and what your hope is for the city at the end of the day?
Yeah, let me start with a story because it's a great question. So, speaking of another great Wardy event, the Santa Cruzon just happened. It's organized by the Filipino community and Catholic Action of Mary, and they've had 41 annual, and many of the downtown Filipino community organizes it. And I've been to a same barbecue that's held after the parade 3 times, and I met with the family there who hosted it and invited us, and she told me that her rent had been jacked up again every year, and this was another 5% increase, and that she and her family were going to leave. And she's lived in downtown for 20 years. Her 2 children were born and raised, and her husband also born and raised. And to me, that's a huge loss for us. They're not, poor people, but they're great people in our community, and to lose these long-term residents who have helped make downtown such a special place, it hits me, and I want to do what I can to help prevent that. And for me, short-term rentals, Airbnb, they're not the #1 cause of rising rents, but they're a cause. They are a major contributor to that. And right now, our estimate is that between 5 and 10% of all apartments in downtown have been turned into short-term rentals. And that makes a huge impact on rental prices, basic supply and demand. If you take apartments off the market, turn them into hotels, there's fewer apartments, rents get higher. So my goal has always been, want to regulate short-term rentals, not because they're bad or the people who run them are bad, but because we have a housing crisis in Jersey City and in downtown, and it's my job as an elected official to do whatever I can to help the long-term residents stay.
Sure.
So that's Tuesday we'll have the final vote. We'll have 2 ordinances, Councilman Youn's and the one that Councilwoman Prinzeri, myself, and the administration have worked on. I'm hopeful ours will pass because I think it provides stronger regulations and will provide the most relief to renters in Jersey City.
Some people that don't support Airbnb have said things to me like, oh, they always rip people off, or they always misrepresent what the apartment looks like, or, there's no oversight, or they end up charging you more than they list. And, you've heard the laundry list of complaints. So, I mean, is there anything in this legislation that could do anything about that?
Yeah, I think by and large, what we're saying is that the Airbnbs which will be allowed, and will be allowed moving forward, are ones that are owner occupied. So the owner is on site. So this isn't a company, this isn't somebody who might live, a couple 100 miles away. You should be renting from somebody who physically lives in the building, or at a minimum is very, very close by. And I think that will address both the quality of life concerns. If you're a neighbor, you'd be able to go talk to your neighbor and say, hey, you're running an Airbnb, I had a problem, we can work together to fix it. Or if you're a tourist coming in, the owner will be on site to address your concerns. So I do think that our bill will make a difference both for some of the tourists who use it as well as for the residents in the community.
Very good, Councilman, and perfectly executed because we've hit the time literally on the nose. So very good. It was a pleasure.
I appreciate it, John. Thank you for having me.
Of course, we'll do it again soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Stick around. We'll be right back after this break.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
The Jersey City Medical Center. You know it for its award-winning, life-saving ambulance service. It's also your health hub, with health and wellness locations staffed with certified professionals all through Hudson County. The Jersey City Medical Center, here to help you with your healthy, here when you need us the most. The Jersey City Medical Center. Visit us on the net to learn more. Jersey City Medical Center, Robert Wood Johnson, Barnabas Health Facility. Let's be healthy together.
And we're back, folks. John R. Heides, Hudson County View, live and uncut. So we obviously have a lot to talk about regarding Hoboken, specifically this Frank Raia trial. So first of all, let me just point out, for those of you that may not be familiar, that in U.S. District Federal Court here in New Jersey, and I believe actually across the country, but for intents and purposes here in New Jersey, there is no recording allowed in the courthouse, regardless if you have press credentials or whatever agency you work for. No one's allowed to film, not even audio. So that's why there's no video updates. But we've been trying to give you at least 2 stories a day on this trial with Frank Raia. Again, as I mentioned in the intro, he's a prominent developer. He has also run for city council. He's run for mayor. And basically anybody familiar with the Hoboken political scene knows Frank. You know, I've obviously interviewed him and I've been acquainted with him for many years. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about this trial. So heading into this trial, we knew that 5 people that allegedly worked on Raia's campaign in 2013 were likely going to take the stand. They pleaded guilty to some role in vote-by-mail fraud back to that election 6 years ago. Raia was unsuccessful in taking that council seat, but we have seen many, including myself, are just calling it an absolutely fascinating trial. I mean, this has just been one person said to me, quote unquote, it's like Hoboken Sopranos. So I don't know if I'm going to agree or disagree, but it has certainly been a sight to behold. I will say that. So what you guys want to know, if you haven't had a chance to read, if you haven't had a chance to make it over to Newark, who has been the most important witnesses? So the government, which is represented by Rahul Agarwal and Sean Farrell, they're both assistant U.S. attorneys, of course, with the U.S. Attorney's Office here in New Jersey. Their 2 key witnesses have been Matt Colicchio and Michael Holmes. So Matt Colicchio, you guys probably remember we said on this show a little over a month ago that he pleaded guilty to his role not in just 2013's municipal races, but 2015, again, in connection to vote-by-mail fraud. So he took the stand for a good portion of the day on Monday and then was back for about half the day on Tuesday. And the long story short is he said, you know, a number of things detailing what happened in this race. He said Frank Raia was the guy that was the driving force behind the Let the People Decide Super PAC. This was a political action committee dedicated to getting out the vote to loosen the rent control laws in Hoboken. There was a ballot question in 2013 that Raia was adamant about passing. That was unsuccessful as well, but he said there was a lot of underhanded tactics going on at headquarters over at 520 Jefferson Street. A lot of people knew that as the Raia Social Club, and there was a lot of, again, underhanded tactics being discussed. They were talking about open ballots being brought back to the office, explicit instructions to fill out people's vote by mails for them, people signing documents that they couldn't read, things of that nature. But the bombshell, many have called it, from Colicchio's testimony was that he said, on the stand under sworn witness testimony, that he worked for Eduardo Gonzalez in 2015. He was a 5th Ward Council candidate who ran against Peter Cunningham, the incumbent. He was unsuccessful in that race, but for those of you that may have read Colicchio's criminal complaint, it said that there was a candidate 1 and a candidate 2, and based on that testimony, it would appear that Gonzalez is candidate 1. He has not said anything publicly about this trial thus far. We will see what happens when it's all said and done, but obviously this is going to continue for many months, perhaps even a couple years, because it's safe to say they're already working on the 2015 municipal races when the 6 ward council seats were up, and they will get to that 2017 mayoral race, and it's just going to be a very, very interesting time. So, Michael Holmes, let's talk a little bit about him. This was somebody that was friends with Frank Raia for many years. Another witness described him as, quote unquote, a little brother to Frank. And he came in and he testified on behalf of the government. And he said a phrase that he repeated many times over and over. He said, voters were paid to work, and if they did work, they were still paid. And defense counsel tried to trip him up on this many times, but he stuck to his guns. He said, this is exactly what happened. I don't care what I may have said in the past. This is what happened. And, I think a lot of people in that courtroom, myself included, found him rather convincing. Obviously there's been some negative backlash. A lot of people are, calling him a rat and other derogatory terms for testifying. But he was certainly one of the government's stronger witnesses. There have been other voters who have testified that are alleging that they filled out paperwork and they had no idea what it was. Of course, it was a vote-by-mail ballot. There was an FBI agent that testified 95% of the people that were paid by either Let the People Decide or Blue Water Operations, a payroll company for that PAC, as well as for the one Hoboken team that Raia was on. That 95% of those people paid received a vote-by-mail ballot. That was another interesting factoid. And today, like I mentioned earlier, my colleague Mark Bucinich is in Newark, and all indications are that Raia will take the stand. So, of course, as soon as we have that story, we will let you guys know. So, we are going to hit it again. We're going to take another break. Please stick around.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
And we're back, Hudson County View, live at Uncut, John Arhitis. So we're going to move a little further south here to Jersey City. As I just spoke to Councilman Solomon about just a few moments ago, you guys got a little color about this controversy going on at the Employment and Training Program. As you're well aware, during the first week of January, there was a special meeting called, and the board there voted out McGreevy. Of course, that was headed by Sudan Thomas. He is now the acting executive director, and of course, you guys also know that he's the Board of Education president in Jersey City. So this has been an ongoing saga. Many have said that this is due to the bad blood between Mayor Stephen Fulop and the former governor. Whatever the case may be, the board had the votes and life has gone on. That is until last week, where the mayor's office released a statement saying that McGreevy, again, as we've said a couple times today, quote unquote, misappropriated funds, millions of dollars. This is something the mayor has said, again, many months ago. And it's turning into a real debacle here. I mean, it's just, it's turning into a slugfest, to put it nicely. The spokeswoman and Mr. Thomas have both made this allegation. Of course, Mr. McGreevy has said that these claims have no merit. He's saying that he's willing to release 8 audits, which I believe he has released to some media outlets. We have not received them yet, but I know he has released them to others. And he said, look, everything's been done by the book. There's really no controversy here. This is all manufactured. And he's made the allegation that this is about Mayor Fulop protecting himself from a controversy that's going to hit City Hall, more specific to the actual office of the mayor. Whether or not that's true, of course, remains to be seen. But, when I had a conversation with the former governor, he seemed very cool, calm, and collected, and he seemed to really believe what he was saying. But the same can be true when I spoke to Sudan Thomas. So, as usual, it's just a bloodbath in Jersey City, and when the smoke settles, I guess someone will have their hand raised. But at this point, I couldn't tell you who. The only thing I could really add to this is that Sudan Thomas has told us that, since Governor McGreevy has left, they're servicing over 4,000 clients. Monday through Friday, they're now open 14 hours a day, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., but on the weekends, they're open to 7 to 7. And there's just been continued productivity at the agency ever since the governor has been, we'll call it, forced to exit. So with that said, this is something that we're going to see developing for, I'm sure, many weeks. We're going to take another quick break because there is a little news up north I want to give you before we call it a day. So just hang with us for a few more minutes.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office space and an address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. Adjacent to all modes of transportation. On-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. 201-521-9000 or visit on the web at panapintoproperties.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Introducing the My JCMC app, powered by Practice Unite. The free My JCMC app puts the power of healthcare at your fingertips. Go to the concierge for access to referrals, scheduling, and appointments, see emergency room wait times, and get directions to Jersey City Medical Center health locations. Read the latest JCMC news through their social media feed, find a doctor, and more. The My JCMC app. We belong to you.
Hey, Hudson County View, live at Uncut. John R. Haitis, thanks for sticking with us this whole time. So just have a few moments here, but I wanted to mention something happening up north, which of course I mentioned in the intro. So let's talk about North Bergen Liberty Generating. So a lot of outlets, including us, have reported that this project has been temporarily suspended, and based on the statement released by a spokesman, Larry Haida, from the State Department of Environmental Protection, that's what it seems like. That statement read, the DEP has suspended its review of the existing application and will adjust its review process accordingly when a new application is received. So obviously, based on that, and that's just an excerpt, it would appear that there is some sort of halt in the process as a new air permit application is being prepared and submitted by North Bergen Liberty Generating. However, that came out yesterday, and just this morning, maybe about 3 hours before this show went on air, we got a statement from a spokesman from North Bergen Liberty Generating, and what they had to say is the company simply informed the Department of Environmental Protection that it's adding information to and amending the current air permit application to reflect possible technology changes. So obviously that's a lot of confusing language. I'm not really sure who's right here, but nevertheless, this project appears to be moving forward in one way, shape, or form. This was obviously a hot-button issue in that mayoral contest this past May when Mayor Nick Sacco was taking on Larry Weinstein. It didn't appear to have a major impact on the casual voter. Mayor Sacco still secured about 69% of the vote, maybe 68 and change, and Larry Weinstein, of course, got about 32%, down about 3% from that that previous election cycle back in 2015. So obviously this is a huge project. They initially wanted to have shovels in the ground at the end of 2022. This is something the administration has been supportive of, as well as labor groups. However, environmentalists are not a fan of this. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Governor Murphy hasn't taken a stance despite being asked repeatedly. But on that note, folks, we're going to call it a day. Thanks for tuning in. Have an excellent week. We'll catch you next week.